Hey everyone, and welcome to this stream. Good morning, good morning. I'm just gonna make sure I have everything being shown on the UI. There we go. And also the bottom banner. There we go. Awesome. So is the microphone on? Yes. Is everything else on as well? Yes. Awesome. So in this video, I'm gonna be sharing or I'm going to create essentially a video and I'll edit that as well. It's for my Angular cookbook, but I also show you what is the process of editing the video itself. So let's jump into it directly. So what I want to do right now is have my editor on, or let's start from the beginning. So first of all, I basically open DaVinci Resolve, which is the software that I use for editing my videos. And this also allows, because this is a free software, anyone can use it. So what I'm going to be showing you is the basics of how to edit different videos, but essentially you can take this forward as well. But I'm going to show you the bare minimums of what you can do. So first of all, let's get this on the right resolution. There we go. And then we can also move forward. Muhammad Sarim, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. I'm going to have to reduce the chat a bit so we can have more view on the screen, because I'm going to also show you some settings as well. So I'm going to move my camera around as well. Give me 1 second. There we go. Any advice for front-end developer? Create a lot of projects. Create as many projects as you can. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be unique. They don't have to be something new. Just create a lot of projects and you'll learn a lot during the process. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so how do you start? So first of all, I have recorded 2 videos and I'm going to import those 2 videos that I want to add or work with. So these are the 2 videos, if I'm correct. I'm going to change the frame rate with this one. And by default, when you open DaVinci Resolve, this cut is the view. I'm also going to remove the bottom banner. Give me 1 second. So this right now, right here, the cut, this is the one that is usually the mode that you open it. So what we first need to do is, you can either, when you import your media, you can right click here, click import media, and then open it. What I also like to keep open is this sync bin, not sync bin. That was not the one. Media pool. And then also there is one option to open power bins. I think I can find it in view. No, let me try to find it. Let open transition. No, media pool. We also had effects as well. Okay, I'll find it. I think it's in the edit one. Yes. Okay, so I was just in the wrong mode. So instead of cut, what you can do is you can be inside the edit mode, and inside the edit you'll find both your bin or your master right here, and then you also have something called smart bins and power bins. What I usually use is this power bin, in which I have my videos, for example overlays, starting video, ending video that I want to have, for example. So you can keep all of these here. So as a disclaimer, I'm not a professional video editor, which means that I don't earn money from editing videos. I edit my own videos. So I've kept my videos here, I've kept my sounds here. For example, if you hear this one, it's a whoosh sound. If I can play that. For example, this sound. Similarly, I also have a longer one, which is this one. So simple effects that you can also put here as well. And then I also have a small pop sound. When you see this one, you'll notice that this is the sound. So all these sounds can be imported. So you will potentially start with just picking one video and then putting that on the timeline. So for example, I think this is the one. So this is the starting one. So I'm going to drag this and then I'm going to put it right there. So that's how you start. Once you're here, and you can watch more tutorials to learn more in depth about the video processing. But what I then do is, if I press the space button, then it plays it.
Hi there. I'm recording this video to show you what is the potential of the Angular Cookbook second edition and how people can actually get benefit from it and get into the Angular world, covering a lot of cool topics that they need almost every day.
So when you press space, it brings you forward. If you use your arrow keys like left, then it will go one frame behind. As you can see, I'm moving on the left side. If you press right, then it's going to move towards the right side, one frame at a time. So you can also do that as well. You can also press the J key to go back and L to move forward. So if I press L, then you'll see I'm going forward.
Hi there. I'm recording.
If you press J, then it's going to go backward and reverse.
Hi
If you press the L key twice, then it goes twice as fast. So for example,
I'm recording this video to show you what is the potential
now
of
it's
Angular
fast.
Cookbook second edition and how people can actually get benefit.
If I do it one more time or L 3 times, then it essentially does this 3 times as well. So for example, if I'm here, if I press L 3 times, it's even faster. So when you're editing, you might want to move faster or slower. So you press the L key 3 times or 2 times to go faster that many times. And then you press the J key to move backwards that many times as well. And I think the K just stops it. Yeah, it just stops it right there. So those are sort of the basics on how you navigate throughout your whole timeline of the video. You can also zoom in to do more selection or more fine-grained, or you can also zoom out if you want to see like the whole timeline in a short view. So it is just to calibrate or see, you know, where do you want to edit. So I know that this is my starting point, and the other video, this one, is the bigger one, or this is the one which has a lot of things. So we are going to edit it in this live stream. So let's start with the starting one, and then we'll move towards the next one.
Hi there.
So if I move forward, you can see that this is the audio, and I want the audio to be a bit more louder. So I'm going to go with just drag this and move a bit up. So it's 4.55 decibels. That's the increased sound. So if you hear it now,
Hi there. I'm recording.
It's a bit higher, and now it feels good to me. Mama Datta says, which software are you using? It's called DaVinci Resolve. You can see it on top of here. DaVinci, DaVinci Resolve. That is a software. So I can start from right here, or as you can see, there's a gap right here. I can actually go to here, and then I can press Control B, or if you're on a Mac, you will use Command B. So if you press Control B, it splits this. So now I have two different cases, this one and this one. So now I can select either of those, and I can click this one, and I can click, or I can press delete. If I delete, it's gone. So that's how you can basically delete a lot of parts of DaVinci Resolve. There might be efficient ways. I would like to reiterate, I'm not a professional video editor, so there might be faster ways to doing this as well. Then I can move forward, and this is a gap as well. So I can actually delete that or let it go.
Hi there. I'm recording this video.
So I can cut these, Control B, and then select this and delete, and now there's no gap.
Hi there. I'm recording this video to show you.
So you need to make it more natural. You don't go off board and make it fully robotic without any pauses or whatnot. So there should be, at least if you look at this closely, I still have a bunch of space between these. So right there, you can see a lot of space, or some space, which is normal. So let's move forward.
Hi there. I'm recording this video. Hi there.
And as I mentioned before, if you press J twice, you go back very fast, or back very fast.
Yeah.
And if you press L twice, you move forward very fast.
Hi there. I'm recording this video to show you what is the potential of the Angular Cookbook second edition and how people can actually get benefit from it and get into Angular world, covering a lot of cool topics that they need almost every day. Let's get started.
So with this, in the videos, you also want to do something called jump cuts, which means that you don't keep the video still. You move it around a bit, because that feels more attractive to the audience as well, and then also keeps them engaged as well. That's one of the things that a lot of people use. So for example, if I start here.
Hi there. I'm recording this video.
Now from this particular point, when I'm recording this video to the next sentence, I can use a jump cut. So how do we do that? First, I'm going to select the period where I want to have the jump cut. For example, I start here.
I'm recording this video to show you what is the potential of the Angular Cookbook second edition.
So here, second edition, let's stop there.
second edition and the Angular Cookbook second edition.
So here is where my second edition board ends. So I'm going to press Control B, and I think you can't see it. So I'm gonna bring this a bit here for you. So now if you look at this, you can see I can press Control B. So now I have this selection and this selection. So this is the part which I want to sort of use the jump cut. So the jump cut basically means that I'm going to zoom this in a bit. So you click this transform, and this gives you this nice little box. Now you can basically zoom in by either, expanding these just like this, but you need to click in the middle or somewhere here so you see the effect right here. So again, you select this, but you also need to move your cursor in the middle or on this one, and then you can drag this to make it like this, and then you can also move it a bit like this as well. So now this is zoomed in.
Hi there, I'm recording this video to show you what is the potential.
So this is sort of what you'll get at. What I do like to do, instead of manually zooming it from here and then dragging it down, because you're prone to do mistakes when you do those, or for example your hand sort of moves and it's not centered anymore. What I usually like to do is I select this and then I go to video, and then from the transform, from here I change everything. So here I can zoom in by just clicking here and then dragging to the right, which increases it. So click X and then zoom it in just like this. So you can zoom as much as you want, or you can zoom out. So 1.0.0 means it's at 100% zoom, which means it's on the default one, but you can increase it. So for example, if I just increase like this, then this is the zoom that I want, but my hair right now is cutting from the top. So you can use the position Y and decrease it a bit so it goes a bit down. So I'll click here and then I'll drag it on the left. So you can see now it's coming down. So you can move it all the way down as well, or as much as you want, but I'm going to just put it or stick it to the head. So now this is much more natural. So if I play now.
Hi there, I'm recording this video to show you.
So there is a jump cut, but it's not as significant and it still looks good. I can also see my book as well. So this is a good jump cut right there.
I'm recording this video to show you what is the potential of the Angular Cookbook second edition and how.
Now you can see that I came back to the original one. If I click this one, you can see the zoom is resetted to 0 because I only changed this particular portion, and this one I have not touched at all. Facts Fizz, hey, how's it going? So you move forward from here.
Actually get benefit from it and get into Angular world, covering a lot of cool topics that they need almost every day. Let's get started.
So here you can see here is where I end my sentence. So I can also do the same thing and zoom in and use a jump cut before I say let's get started. Okay, so here is where I'm going to also break this. So I don't want the rest of this because this is just pause. I'm not saying anything at all. I don't want to have this. So I'll delete this one. And then we also have a pause here as well. So I'm going to remove that as well. And now this is how it sounds.
Need almost every day. Let's get started.
So with this let's get started, I want to have the same zoom level or the same jump cut or the same transform basically as the other one. So this one, for example,
book second edition,
this one is a bit zoomed in, right? And I want, if I move the timeline, I can show you better. So this one starts with the normal zoom. This starts with the default zoom. This is zoomed in. This is default. And I want the last one to be zoomed in as well. But I don't want to do this manually or copy the values of X and Y. So what I can do is I can come here, I can press Control C or copy just here. And then when you go here, you can right click and click paste attributes or Alt V. I think on MacBook it's a bit different. When you use paste attributes, you're essentially copying the transform as well. So here you can click video attributes and then you can select position and zoom, or I just select video attributes like all of them. And then when you hit apply, then this one also gets zoom in. So now this has the same level as this, as you can see. They're exactly the same jump cuts, and this is the same as this one. So these are minute details which actually stands out your application, your video, not application. So if I run this now, this is how it looks.
Hi there, I'm recording this video to show you what is the potential of the Angular Cookbook second edition and how people can actually get benefit from it and get into the Angular world, covering a lot of cool topics that they need almost every day. Let's get started.
So this is our introduction, and now we can move to the actual video. If you have any questions, write them down in the chat right now. And if you don't know what we are doing, if you have just joined us, then you can also ask me questions. So this is our timeline, as you can see. One of the things that you would also want to look into is the settings of your project. And you can do it by going to File, and then here you have Project Settings. So here you can decide what is the timeline resolution that you want to have. So right now I have 1920 into 1080p. This is not what I want, because what I think what I've recorded or as an output is a bit different. I'm going to double check. So from OBS, the video output that I recorded this video on was 2560 into 1440. So this is what I'm going to use here as well. So I'm going to use 2560 into 1440, and that is the resolution that we have. I think I could have selected this from here as well, but it depends on the monitor, so it might not be still there. But yeah, okay. So this is the one that I want as an output. So I'm going to save this as well. And now my project settings should output the exact settings that we just selected. So project settings has the timeline resolution of 2560 into 1440. Okay, now we can bring the next video in. So this is the actual video in which I covered like the Angular Cookbook. So I'm going to drag this, and you can either drag it on another video track or just keep everything in the same one. Since I want to keep it the same one, I'm going to just use it this one. So this is where we start. One of the things that I also want to do is, since I'm starting this video, I also want to show the link for the Angular Cookbook. So for example, here.
Hi there. I'm recording this video to show you what is the potential of the Angular Cookbook 2nd edition. And
so in here, I also want to show the link for the Angular Cookbook, or where people can actually download it. So what you can do is, here you have effects. When you click effects, you see video transitions, audio transitions, and titles. From here, you can actually pick titles, and you can put that on top of the video. So for example, I can pick a really simple text and I can put it right on top of it. And now you see I have this thing called basic title being shown on top of it. So either choose that, or you can also choose a lower third. For example, something like this or something like this, the flip over lower third. I think there was also a dark box something, if I can find it. We have jitter, we had, yeah, this one, dark box something. So I'm going to use this one, sample text. So instead of this, and when you click this, if you hit delete, you'll see something weird happening. So if you hit delete, the timeline also is affected below. Now I have my starting video also deleted as well. We don't want that. So when you just want to delete this guy and not impacting the whole timeline, instead of that, you can just do Control X, or in MacBook, I think it's going to be Command X. So it doesn't affect the timeline. So if I just want to delete it, cut it, essentially I can just do Control X. If I hit delete, then essentially it also impacts the timeline. You'll see that this also gets affected if I hit delete. Okay, we don't want that. So just do a Control X if you just want to remove something. Okay, let's book this one, dark text box. So here I want to show
and how people can actually get benefit from it and get into.
So here I want to show the NG Cookbook link. So here I can change this from the sample text to https ngcookbook.com. And as you can see that this is not really, I would say this is not as visible.
And how
it is visible enough,
get benefit from it,
but it is visible enough, but I don't think that it is visible as much as I want, because I want this to be a bit more highlighted. So I'll add something on top of it as well. Ramcode says, I feel like I've seen you on Instagram. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you might have seen. I think there were some videos that got viral recently, so you might have seen this face. Yes. Okay, so how do we add more darkness to it? So what we do is we'll move this one above, just like this, and then we will add a dark box or black box right here in the middle. So you can go to generators and pick this solid color. So you go here, you add the solid color, and now the whole thing is black because the solid color is taking the whole screen. What you can do is you can crop it from the top and bring it down. You do that by first clicking the solid color and then go to settings from here, and then you have this transform which has a bunch of things, but then you should also have cropping and I thought I saw some other options as well, but let's see. If I hit this, yeah, okay, here. So when you click this, it will expand and you can now do crop top. So if you crop top, you can see that it brings it like here, right? So if I don't want this to be too much on the top, I can actually bring this a bit down, or I can also change the opacity of it as well. So first of all, I'm gonna make it this high. Then I can click this guy right here, and then I can move the transform or crop of it as well. Oops, wait a second. I can also do this. So right here, as you can see, so I can choose the Y and minus it a bit to be a bit more down. The solid can also be cropped a bit more. And then finally, this solid will change the opacity. So here in the composite, you can change the opacity to be a bit darker or move completely or keep it a bit sort of translucent. So this one I think is much nicer than the other way around. So if I now start looking at this, so if I hit play,
Angular Cookbook second edition, and how people can actually get benefit from it and get into the
so
Angular
this is
world,
much nicer,
covering a lot of
much
cool
more
topics
visible
that
as well.
they need.
Okay, so I'm gonna keep it as it is. All right, let's add, or let's move forward with actually editing more videos. I'm also going to show you how do you do a sort of zoom in or zoom out animation in the video, because right now we have just used some jump cuts, but how do we use keyframes for animations in this case? So we'll look into that as well. Before that, since we are moving from one place to another, we say, for example, let's get started, and then we need to move to the other video. So we'll add a video transition in between as well, but we'll look into it in just a bit.
Hey there, I'm creating this video to quick.
Okay, so I have this whole introduction already. And in the next video, I also recorded an introduction, but I did not like it. So I created a new one for that one. So this one in the video, I don't need that. So I'm going to remove that. So let's see from here. Okay, so I'm going to press Control B, delete this whole thing. So remember, when you use a Control X, then it just removes it from the timeline without affecting the timeline. But in this case, I want this to be deleted and all of this one to come back as well. So you can do that by just pressing the delete button, and it also does both of them. If you remember, the audio level right now on this one is 4.55 decibels. We also want the same on this entire video as well. So let's increase that. So I'm just going to click this audio sound and then increase this to 4.55 decibels. So we have a consistent volume for all the videos. Zishan, walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for asking. How are you doing?
Of Angular Cookbook second edition, and I'm gonna just go with the recipes which are finalized, and this is the final version edition, and I'm gonna
remove this and then everything before that, so it sounds a bit natural. So
let's get started. I'm gonna just go with the
okay, so listen to this.
Almost every day. Let's get started. I'm gonna just go with the recipes.
Okay, so this sounds pretty natural. What I'm gonna do here is I'm going to add a video transition. So you go to video transitions and you can pick one of these transitions. I usually go with the blur dissolve, so it looks like this, right? You can also use this one, for example, dip to color resolve, and you can also go with a smooth cut like this. I don't really like that. Non-additive dissolve is this one. So you can just mouse over and check, you know, how it looks. I usually like blur dissolve, so I'm gonna just put that in between these two. So you put in between these two, and then you can also control like what is the duration of the whole blur. Right now it seems too much because this is my final wordings. Let's get started. So I'm gonna actually click this and reduce this to just this place. So look at this.
Let's get started. I'm gonna just go with
the so that is a good transition.
Get started. Let's
do this again.
Let's get started. I'm gonna just
okay. So this is, as you can see, why it takes a lot of time to actually edit all the videos. So with this, I usually like to also add a sound, which is a small whoosh, like, or this one. So I'm going to drag this, and below here on the second audio track, like here. And the sound is very, very loud compared to the other ones, as you can see. So I'm going to click this, reduce it a bit, make it a bit smaller. And you can see that the peak high that we have right now is just around the center of the transition. So it sounds like this.
every day. Let's get started. I'm gonna just go.
Okay. So this sounds pretty natural.
Every day. Let's get started. I'm gonna just go with the
Awesome. So let's move forward from here. Okay, so let's go here.
with the recipes which are finalized, and this is the final version when you have finished the recipe. So this one goes with Angular signals, and this whole app is working with signals. For example, if
So in here, I also want to add, for example, a small sort of popovers where I can say this is Angular signal, for example. So how can we go with that?
you have finished the recipe. So this one goes with Angular signals.
So here I also want to add the popover, and I can essentially go with the same ones that I had before. So dark work lower third and solid color. So these two, I'm going to copy those. So you do a Control C, of course, and then you go to the place where I want to put them, which was right here. And then I can say Control V, and you can see now they are both here.
So this one goes with Angular signals. And
so here, instead of this URL, I can go ahead with changing the text to say Angular signals. So click title. First of all, click the text, then click the title, and here you can change it. So you can say Angular signals, right? And now if I hit play,
so this one goes with Angular signals, and this whole app is working with signals. For example, if you want to add,
and that's pretty much it. So I can also reduce this a bit to match the statement.
And this whole app is working with signals. For example,
so signals, let's just stop there. And you can click here and drag this forward and backward. So here,
this whole app is working with signals. For example, if you want to add
and also you'll see one thing,
whole app is,
so this goes away, but this box is still stays there. So I'm going to reduce this as well. So the box also goes away. So here, let's see now. Ooh.
And this whole app is working with signal.
Okay. So one thing that you'll also notice is that the box goes immediately. There's no animation. So just look at the box.
Whole app is working.
The box just goes away. Instead of doing that, if we want the box to fade away, if you look at this corner right here, you can actually click that corner and drag it sort of behind. And this sort of inclination that you see right now, like this, that is essentially the fading out. So now you'll see this fading out,
and this whole app is working with,
you see, that's what I was talking about. So this is too slow. Let's do it like this.
Whole app is working with signal. This whole app is working with,
I think that's much better. So small little things that really improve the quality of your video in this case. Okay, so let's move forward.
This whole app,
Zishan is asking, after learning React.js, please suggest me some important job getting projects. Tell some names. Try to find the tutorials already which are a bit more complex and a long term, like 1 hour to 2 hour videos, and then build those projects. This could be, for example, a restaurant management system. This could be, I don't know, a budgeting application. It could also be shared notes with your friends. So things like that, you can start with those.
Is working with,
don't wait for unique ideas or big ideas. Start small. Create any small project that you can think
signals.
of.
For example, if you want to add a new item, you're adding that.
Okay, so I'm gonna move faster a bit since we also want to end it. It's already 30 minutes and we are still on 1 minute of the video, so you can see how much time it takes to edit the whole video. All right, let's move faster.
You're adding that within the signal. Then you also have the computer property right here, which basically tracks of how many tasks have been finished versus not. You can also see this one where when you finish, you see a message, and that also runs with computed as well.
So here, you see, I also focused on saying at the end we also show this message when you finish. So this message right here, we want to, and in this video, if we wanted to focus on this message, we would zoom in. So you can use that using keyframes. So what I usually try to do is this. I select a starting point where the animation, or before the animation, before the point of the animation. So here, For example, this is where the snack bar is. So I'm going to actually start here. You click the video. Don't forget to click the video. Put your marker right here. And then you go here and then you select the zooming and position. So here you have zoom in the video transform. Zoom is 1, position is 0, 0, and zoom is 1, 1. So you click this guy right here, this dot. This is the animation place or the animation keyframe. So here you click this becomes red and this becomes red. Now this is one point in the whole animation. So we are saying we start from the default position, then we move a bit forward in the pipeline. So you press your right arrow key. So let's say 3 times, 1, 2, 3. Then you click this again. Now this is the second keyframe position in which you are going to say, now what happens? So from the default position, we want to zoom into this place so I can actually show that message. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in like this. Okay, I think this is more than enough. And what I did is I just clicked the X in the zoom and then I dragged it to the right side. Now for the Y, I want to go a bit down because I can't really see the message here. So then I'll click this and bring it or drag it to the left. No, drag it to the right actually. So I go a bit down. So click this again. If your screen ends right here, then come back again and then do it again. So keep doing it until you actually reach the bottom of the screen. So this is the bottom of the screen, right? So I'm going to adjust it to be aligned with here. Now this is where I should see the message. So this is the second point in the keyframes. And now you go forward. So I'll just keep pressing the right key. And you see the message is right here. So if you want to jump to the previous key point, you see this arrow right here for both of them. You can just click that. And now you are at the second keyframe, which we just added. If I click this again, now we are at the first keyframe. So you can actually move back and forth. So click behind, click forward, and you go to the next one. Okay, so let's play this. And once the message is done and we are done showing it, we'll zoom out to the default position. So we need 2 more keyframe positions. So the first one is when you want to start. The second one is where you want to go quickly. And then the third one is the same as the second one, and the fourth one is back to the first one. So we are going to look into this in a bit. Finish, you see a message, and that also runs with computed as well. Message, and that also. So here you see a message, and here is where I can go back. So in the beginning, what we did was we said from default to the zoomed in position. So the first one is the default, the second one is the zoomed in. Now we are going to say from the zoomed in to the default position, and very close they should be. So this one is gonna be the keyframes. Don't change anything in this one since we are still on the zoomed one. And then you move 3 or 4 sort of keyframes forward by pressing the right arrow key. So 1, 2, 3. And here I can click this again. Now this should be the default position. So we know that the default zoom was 1 and the default position is 0, 0. And now we are at the previous position. So look at this now. So we start from this one, default position, go to the zoomed in position. Then we let the video play. Then from the zoomed in position, we go back to the default position. That is the animation. So let's look at this all together now. So see this one where when you finish, you see a message, and that also runs with computed as well. Okay. So that is pretty smooth. And now we have the default position going on. So I hope this makes sense. For an effect instead of computed. Then we and this thing, like for example, breaths or pauses, we can also remove them as well. So for example, instead of computed. Then so this one can be removed. So if I click Control B, select, delete, instead of computed. Then we also have things like making it natural. For example, here, if you go from, okay, I'm gonna move forward now. Things like route animations. Okay. Then we also have things like, so now I'm starting with the second recipe. So I'm going to actually copy paste the titles that we have right here. Copy this, move to the new position, and paste this right here. Have things like route animations, for example, here. So this one, instead of saying Angular signals, it can say route animations. So here
have things like route animations. For example, here, if you go from one page to another, how do you really implement those animations? So the recipe goes in.
So let's remove the pause from here.
Those animations. So the recipe goes in depth on how to do that and then how it actually works. So it's really, really cool. Then we also have who's slowing the really, really, really cool.
So I'm going to also remove this guy, and then also let's add the third one. So I'm going to paste the links or the title. And this one I think is
cool. Then we also have this right here, which is using the
so retrying HTTP calls using the retry backoff strategy is this one. So I'm going to also add this right here. So retrying HTTP calls with exponential backoff strategy. Okay, so let's quickly add that.
Then we also have this right here, which is using the HTTP exponential.
Now this one was too quick. The text is too much, but the content or the time is very, very low. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually select this, and we'll add that. So let's increase this to maybe this and increase this to this. Smart 7, hey, how's it going?
Cool. Then we also have this right here, which is using the HTTP exponential backoff strategy. So when, for example, you're trying to request some data, it doesn't work, then it tries again, a few times, to the point where it just stops after a maximum time. So this one basically retries 3 times, and every next iteration or request basically takes more time before retrying. So this is called the exponential backoff strategy. And you'll see that now it takes a few seconds for the last one to basically do that. And then finally we have a message that's shown here as well. Then we also have things like
so we saw some spaces in between, more spaces than required. So for example, this from the audio timeline, you can see that there are some spaces. So we don't want those spaces as much.
Now it takes a few seconds for the last.
So for example, this we don't need that space. We can reduce that to make it more natural and not having a lot of spaces. Because if you have a lot of spaces and pauses, that makes the videos usually boring.
It takes a few seconds for the last one to basically do that. And then finally we have a message that's shown here as well. Then we also have things.
Cool. So now here we have a new recipe starting. So I'm going to paste this text right here. So what is the recipe?
Then we also have things like Angular route preloading strategies, for example.
So let's change the text. So here we can say Angular route preloading strategy or strategies. So let's see.
Then we also have things like Angular route preloading strategies. For example, I can actually dictate when my route would be loaded. For example, if I refresh right now, you can see that right now I am on the home page. And if I go to admin, then you'll see that not only we load the admin page, but we also load other pages which are preloaded, for example. So for example, this one, blooper.
Now, this is one of the things that I do all the time. If I make a mistake, I take a pause, and you can see the pause in the audio right here, and then I say blooper, which means that now I know this is where I need to stop, and then I need to redo the whole thing again. So how do we now fix this? So from the point where we are starting, we're going to go from there and then see, okay, this is all the pause. And then here,
for example, for admin right now, we not.
So here I'm starting with, for example, for admin right now. So in this case, I'm going to put a stop here, and then let's go back.
My route would be.
So here, let's say,
for example, I can actually loading strategies. For example, I can actually loading strategies. For example, I can route preloading strategies.
So here, this is where I need to stop and then delete everything. So in this one, let's also make these locked, so these are not impacted. And now if I delete this guy, now I can continue and unlock these. So these are okay now.
Strategies. For example, for admin right now, we not only load the admin.
So I've sort of fixed it by removing the blooper, and then I can proceed forward. Smart 7 says, why don't you stream doing open source contribution? Because I have a lot of my own projects to work on. I mean, I don't have enough time to do open source contributions. I have created a lot of videos already. If you look into the YouTube channel and try to find open source exactly, you'll find already existing videos on how to contribute to open source and as such, and how to find open source projects. So I've already done that in the past as well. But I can do it once I have nothing else to do. But I already have my projects to work on. So I hope that makes sense.
For example, for admin right now, we not only load the admins bundle, but then also admin campaign, which is right here at the moment. Similarly, when we try to, let's say after the relevance,
So here
at the moment. Similarly,
so let's also use delete just like this, then do this and do this. All right.
to name which is right here at the moment.
Coding error. Hey, how's it going?
When we try to go to let's say employee, you'll see something different. So if I go to employee now,
so here, let's see.
Go to employee now, log in as employee. You can see that right.
So all this space that you can see, I can actually remove that just by doing Control B, splitting them and then clicking and deleting them.
Log in as employee. You can see that right now we're loading both the employee component and then both.
So I can delete that as well.
The employee component and then the employee campaign as well. So each page can decide how to load some other pages or preload them. So every individual component, whether it's admin or employee, loads the campaign as soon as we go to this particular page. So that's how we are taking care of it. If I refresh right now, you're going to see that we also load everything. For example, right now we have the employee component loaded, but then also the employee campaign as well. So this is the first one.
I think this one is not necessary. I think I've said enough.
So that's how we are taking care of it.
So I don't need this part where I'm sort of repeating myself. So I can
now,
delete
you're
that.
Gonna see that we
Sorry. So I'm gonna delete this because I'm repeating this part. So I'm just gonna delete.
load everything. For example, right now we have the employee component loaded, but then also the employee campaign as well. So this is the first one that has been loaded, the campaign one. Okay. We're gonna just cut this part.
Yeah, exactly. As I said.
Awesome. Actually make this a bit down.
Because I think I redid it.
Then we also have
okay, so then let's go this one.
Then we also have this route preloading strategy recipe. And
okay, so then I also needed to delete the rest of the stuff as well. So let's look at this one.
Similarly, when we try to go to, let's say, employee, you'll see something.
Okay, so all of the edits that I just did were useless because I basically re-recorded or redid this one.
Login as employee. You can see that right now. Also, we're loading both the employee component and then.
So I need to remove whatever I just edited. Okay, so let's delete this one by one. So delete this guy, and I think we need to go to the point where we have this guy. So let's delete. Are we impacting the other ones? I hope not.
Can actually get benefit from it and get into the Angular world, covering a lot of cool topics that they need.
Let's double check we have everything correctly.
Hi there, I'm recording this video to show you what is the potential of the Angular Cookbook second edition and how people can actually get benefit from it and get into Angular world, covering a lot of cool topics that they need almost every day. Let's get started. I'm going to just go over the recipe, which are finalized, and this is the final version when you have finished the recipe. So this one goes with Angular signals, and this whole app is working with signals. For example, if you want to add a new item, you're adding that within the signal. Then you also have the computed property right here, which basically tracks of how many tasks have been finished, what is not. You can also see this one where when you finish, you see a message, and that also runs with computed as well. Sorry, for an effect instead of computed. Then you also have things like route animations. For example, here, if you go from one page to another, how do you really implement those animations? So the recipe goes in depth on how to do that and then how it actually works. It's really, really cool. Then you also have this right here, which is using the.
Okay, so this is where I actually need to delete a bunch of other stuff. So I'm going to lock this. So my these are not affected from what I'm deleting right now. So I'm going to delete this guy.
It takes a few seconds for the log to basically do that. And then finally we have a message that's shown here as well. Then we also have things like Angular.
Okay, so then I need to delete this one and delete this one. So now let's see.
Works. So it's really, really cool. Then we also have things like Angular route preloading strategies. For example, for admin right now, we not only load the admins bundle, but then also admin.
Oh, what did I do? I think I deleted a lot of good
things like
stuff.
route animations.
Oops, I deleted wrong stuff. Let's do a Control Z. We need to bring back a lot of stuff. Let's see.
Then we also have this route preloading strategy.
Okay. So let's have a look at this one. So we talked about this, then we went to the Angular signals. We can also put, one of the things that we can also do, I think that also benefits a lot, is just putting markers. So here, for example, you can start with,
People can actually get
so this one is Angular signal. So I can right click here, add a marker, select, for example, blue, and this added on the video itself. I don't want to add it on the video, so I'm gonna do Control Z, not select any video at all, and just put a marker here, right click, add marker blue, and now the marker is right here. So you can double click this and then you can edit this. So I can say Angular signal. So I'm actually keeping track of all the things that I'm doing, and I can jump directly on the markers. Now this one is Angular route animation. So right click here, add a marker, and here I can say Angular route animations. This will also help in when I publish this to YouTube. I can also add that as a timeline as well. Okay, this one is this one. So let's say I click right here, add marker blue, and then double click and then just add it right here. So now we have this marker as well. Let's move forward.
to the point where it just stops after a maximum time. And every next action or request basically takes more time before retrying. So this is called the exponential backoff strategy. And you'll see that now it takes a few seconds for the last one to basically do that. And then finally we have a message that's shown here as well. Then we also have things like Angular route reloading strategies. For example, for admin right now, we not only load the admins bundle.
Okay, so this one I need to remove. So I'm gonna actually lock the top two. I'm going to delete this guy, delete this guy, delete this, delete this, delete this.
The employee component,
and now I need to move forward to the point where I re-recorded it. So let's quickly do that.
Campaign as well. So each page can decide how to load some other pages or okay,
so I can delete this guy as well. And then I took a pause and then I went here. Let's see. Okay. So here I need to put a Control B, delete this one, and now this should be good.
We have a message that's shown here as well. Then we also have this route preloading strategy recipe in which you basically learn how to implement preloading strategies based on certain conditions. For example, right now, if I log in as an admin, not only I will load the admin bundle, but also the admin campaign bundle. So if I click it, you can see that I loaded the admin component right here and then also the admin campaign component. Same goes with employee. If I go to the employee now, you're going to see that we do have the bucket already loaded, but actually can't go to the employee unless you actually log out and log in. So if I log out and then log in as employee, now you can see that both the employee component and employee campaign component both are loaded. And if you just refresh directly on the campaign, then you'll see that we load both the employee campaign, which is right now the route, then we also have the employee component as with that blooper. And you can also see the employee component and as with that blooper.
And you can see the blooper right here.
And as with that blooper.
So yeah, I made a mistake. Let's see.
In which is right now the route. Then we also have the employee component, the route.
So put a Control B here.
The employee component as with that blooper. And you can also see the employee component.
And here you delete this guy, and we have this clean.
Also that we load both the employee campaign, which is right now the route, and you can also see the employee component and then the bucket itself, which we render as well. So those can be handled based on the preloading strategy. Now we also have some complex forms, for example, here.
Okay, so this one we are starting a new one.
Also have some complex form strategy.
So let's add a new here, add marker blue, and this one can be called Angular form arrays. So we have this marker here. Let's copy the titles from the one before. So this one, copy this. I'm going to unlock this, otherwise I will not be able to paste it. So from here, we can paste them. And here I can change the title by just clicking only this and then going here and saying Angular form arrays. So let's double check this.
So here, based on the preloading strategy. Now we also have some complex forms, for example, here with the form array. So here you can see that I have a name, I can enter the bio, and then also I can add projects. So for example, test 1 is a project, but I can also add one more. And then each one that I add, for example, this first one is mandatory, but if I add one more, test 2, and then the more I want, I can actually add and keep on going. So every new item would allow me to add more items. Then we also have the form arrays.
Okay, so then I also deleted this as well. So because I made a mistake, I redid this again. So I'm going to click this, lock these, and then I can delete this guy right here.
Now the route, and you can also see the employee component.
And I also need to click here to put a breakpoint. So only this part needs to be deleted. And from this one, we have the new one. So delete. Let's now hear it. I'm going to also unlock these as well. So here,
basically handled based on the preloading strategy. Then we also have the form arrays. So in this one, you can basically start creating projects and enter URL, and then you can just keep clicking this plus button to add more and more. And you can see that on the right side, we are essentially filling this whole form, the reactive form that we have, having a form array containing all the new things that you can see right here. And as soon as I add anything, it's immediately updating as well. So this is how you can work with form arrays. Then we also have our own custom form control, which we
okay. So then we also add this one. So put a marker here. Let's say custom form control. When we click this, so Angular custom form control, and then we can also copy these guys right here, click here, paste them, and here we can just say Angular custom form control. Okay, let's see.
with sub form arrays. Then we also have our own custom form control, which we can use to submit with our own custom UI. For example, in this one, this works with both the ng model and also the form, the reactive form as well. So in this one, if I go and inspect, you will see that upon clicking, for example, 3 right now, you can also see that I can click 5, 2, but let's say if it's 2, and if I say test on submitting, you can see that I get the.
So in here, when you show the log, I think I'm going to zoom in and use keyframes to show it a bit better. So for example, here,
5, 2, but let's say if it's 2, and if I say test on submitting.
So on submit, just before I do submit, I can do a keyframe. So here, click this one, make sure you have clicked the video and you're in the video, transform, and then you have these red dots. Then you move 2 or 3 frames forward. So 1, 2, 3, and then you click these again, and then you zoom into the point where you want. So for example, I'll zoom in like this, and then I will also move the X a bit forward. So clicking X and dragging it on the right, just like this. And now you can see that I can align my window with the screen just like this. And now I have both the button being shown and then this being shown as well nicely. Then I can move to the point where I want to go, and then I'll reset it to the default position.
On submitting, you can see that I get the forms value, and this is the actual Angular forms value. If I go to.
So now from here, I can put
value. If I go to.
So in here, I can now do this again on the same one. We don't change anything on this third breakpoint at all. Then we go 3 frames forward, and then we click this again. And now this one, we reset everything. So 1, and then 0, 0. So zoom X, zoom Y 1, position X, position Y 0. So now if we look at this together,
this is if it's 2, and if I say test on submitting, you can.
So here,
if I say test on submitting, you can see that I get the forms value, and this is the actual Angular forms value. If I go to the Angular debug tools, you can see that.
So you can see that this is a smooth transition.
This is a form, and I can actually find out the value of the form right here. So
I think I did a blooper here.
Control.
Let's see.
Blooper.
Yeah.
So if I go to app home,
so to the control, and instead of app home
is a form, and I can actually find out the value of the form right here.
So here, this is the break.
So if I go to control, so if I go to app home,
so
if I go to app home,
just put in the breakpoint right here, delete this guy, and now we should have this nicely.
You can see that this is a form, and I can actually find out the value of the form right here. So if I go to app home, I can actually see the review form, and in this one, you can see the value.
Now, this is also a point where you would want to zoom in a bit so people can actually see this better.
I can actually see the review.
So here, I can do keyframes again. So click 2 frames forward. Here, I will zoom in. X gonna be a bit lesser. Y also gonna be like this, so we can see all of that which we are trying to see, and X comes like this, and then let's see
the review form, and in this one you can see the value.
So here you can see all of that, right? So let's go, and as I mentioned before, if you click these arrows, you can go to the previous keyframe to adjust it as well. So this one was the default one, this one is the one that we are looking at. So let's adjust it a bit. I think we need a bit more. So X is going to be like this, so not to go too deep into it, and then we have this. Okay, so now if we have a look at this, let's play
the review form, and in this one you can see the value being the comment and test, as you can see.
So in this one, then I can click this, move 3 steps forward, and then reset it. So this is going to be 1 1 1 and then 0 0. So now this is resetted.
Value being the comment and see the review form.
So here, look at this.
I can actually see the review form, and in this one you can see the value being the comment and test, as you can see. So this is directly bound to the Angular reactive forms, and if you wanted to use, you can use with ng model. Then we also have some ng model.
So here now we can also put a breakpoint, add a marker, and this one is a new recipe that was Angular list box or Angular CDK list box. And let's quickly copy the titles. And what did this one say? Angular custom form control. Okay. Was this the form control one? Yeah, it was. Then we go here and then we can come here and then paste it. So here we should have something called Angular CDK list box, and you should be able to see it now.
Use with ng model. Then we also have some things with the Angular CDK. So this one goes through the list box, which means that if I just press a bunch of times the tab, then you can see that I've now focused on that one. So I can actually use it with my keyboard instead of clicking the mouse. And this follows the standards of accessibility because it's implemented by the Angular CDK team. Of course, great job. So if I just move around, you can see that this is being highlighted. But if I press enter, then the value is selected, and this is by design. I can also jump by just typing the value. For example, I know that this one is blue. So if I
type blue, then it should go to the blue one. But then I'm not sure if I should show the word blue here or not. I think I can just move forward.
Start typing BLU. You can see automatically it jumped to that particular item. So this is really, really accessible, and you go through the recipe to learn how this works. Then we also implemented our own custom pointy.
Okay, so here, then I can put a breakpoint, add a new marker. This one should be called Angular CDK pop over, or I think it's called overlay API. So here we have this one, which should say Angular CDK overlay popovers using Angular CDK overlay. So this one should say something like this.
Then we also implemented our own custom pointy little popovers, and that means that if I mouse over and click, you can see that there is this menu right here, but this pointy part is covered in the recipe and you will not find it easily on the internet. This not only shows it in the right direction, but if there's no space, it also shows it in the other direction as well, as you can see, and the pointiness of the popover are directly reflected there as well. So this is super cool as well. Then we also talk about the performance optimization.
Okay, so then we can come here and put another marker right here on the blue, copy these, and then paste them here.
Then we also talk about the performance optimization using differ blocks.
So here, Angular differ control flow block for performance. So this one I can put right there.
For example, we also talk about the performance optimization using different blocks. For example, right now I have a bunch of components on this view, but I don't want to load all of them in the beginning, which makes the performance really, really fast. So if I go to the inspector, and for example, if I go to network and refresh right now, you're going to see that we are trying to load the Star Wars component at the moment, Star Wars character component, but the page has much more components as well. So if I click here, if I start going down, you're going to see that now the drag and drop component has been loaded because of the differ block that we are using. So we loaded the drag and drop components, which includes the folder list, component,
drag and drop. I can also remove this as well. So if I zoom in, press a bit, click here, and delete from here. So this is how it sounds.
Using. So we loaded the drag and drop components, which includes the folder list and file list component, which can be used. For example, if I go here, I'm gonna basically
I can also remove the space that we just saw. So this one can be removed.
Here, I'm gonna basically zoom out a bit, and here you can see that I can just drag and drop these things. By the way, the drag and drop recipe is a separate recipe in the Angular CDK as well that you can try out as well. But if I scroll further down, you'll see more components. So here, for example, user list just came into being, and this loaded this particular bundle, which contains everything related to this one. But not only on scroll, we can also load when we are mouse over a component. For example, there is one component that we show when we mouse over a card. So for example, this one. And as soon as I did, you can see that I got this user card tag component loaded. So this is being used with the differ block. Now let's move to the web workers.
Super, super cool. So this one has another recipe, which is using web workers. So let's add a new marker, call this performance optimization using web workers. So let's add that guy, and then let's copy the title from before, and then let's move forward. Where's the marker? Oh, there's a marker. So here, let's copy this guy and let's paste it right here.
With the default block. Now let's move to the web workers. This is super cool. I've optimized this whole UI based on web.
Okay, so I'm actually going to increase this a bit, so this gets shown a bit more.
With the default block. Now let's move to the web workers. This is super cool. I've optimized this whole UI based on web workers because there's a lot of performance that goes into this. I have added a heavy function that executes on each particular card, but if I refresh, you'll see that instantly everything is rendered, and we also have just one color generation count. When we start the recipe, we have this more than 7 times as soon as the app starts, and whenever you click somewhere, it basically keeps increasing. But right now, you can see that the zone is not affecting this at all, and only when we update.
Okay, so now we have one thing that is a bit that we can make it better, and that is I'm not really sure if we have that done for the web workers, but we can double check. For example, if I go to the second book edition, and then if I try to go to start, and then we can maybe look into, let's see if I can make that working. Grow Instagram. Hey, how's it going? If you're here for telling me how I can grow my Instagram, please go away. Otherwise, you're welcome. So cd start, and then npx nx. I think we can say, or actually we can say npm run serve, and here we can say ng perf or ww perf, and here we can say port 62,000. So let's add that, and we want to essentially run the starting point of the web workers so we can see how it looks before, and I want to record it as well. So once we are recording it, then I think we can take it from there. So we'll see. Let's open this guy. Let's open this, because I also want to add the possibility of showing how it looked before. And I also realize my camera is gonna die, so we'll see how that goes. And I also forgot to put the other battery in the charger. We'll see. So right now I'm running about 11 different servers. Maybe I should stop those servers. I think I should definitely stop those servers. Okay, so my camera died, so I'm gonna remove the camera for a while, and then we'll take it from there. So stop server, stop this server, stop that one, this one, this one, this one. Let's stop that guy, this one as well, this one as well, and now we should have that running. So here is the one. So what I want to do is I want to record the fact that, you know, this keeps increasing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hide the chat for a while as well. Give me 1 second. Not this one, but actually this one. So let's record this. So 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I've recorded this now. Let's quickly add that recording to the video as well. So where are you? DaVinci. I'm gonna go to master. I'm gonna import media, and then let's just import the new video that we just created. So here
is not affecting this at all, and only when we update, then it essentially renders. Or if I search something, then the card would be re-rendered. So only more than 7 times generation count. When we start the recipe,
okay, so here we can add this right here, and so if you add one more video on your timeline, you also get the audio as well. So I'm going to right click this, click link clips, uncheck it. So now I can select them separately, and I can just delete this. Now let's see if I want to make it a bit zoomed in so I don't show the header. So I'm gonna also bring this a bit centered as well. Now let's see.
Generation count. When we start the recipe, we have this more than 7 times as soon as the app starts, and whenever you click somewhere, it basically keeps increasing. But right now you can see that the zone is not affecting this at all, and only when we update.
Okay, so this one, I'm gonna actually do a speed or change of a speed. So because we have a lot of things to show, I think we need to do it a bit faster. So here, I think we had something called change speed. I don't see it. Change clip speed. So this one, we're gonna move it to 150, 1.5 times or 1.5x. Let's see now.
When we start the recipe, we have this more than 7 times as soon as the app starts, and whenever you click somewhere, it basically keeps increasing. But right now you can see that the zone.
So the right now thingy, I think we also need to change the speed a bit more. Let's increase to 175. Okay, let's see now.
Generation count. When we start the recipe, we have this more than 7 times as soon as the app starts, and whenever you click somewhere, it basically keeps increasing. But right now you can see that the zone is not affecting this at all, and only when we update, then it essentially renders. Or if I search something, then the card would be re-rendered. So only when the component itself is re-rendered, or then the card would be re-rendered.
Okay, I'm repeating myself here, so I'm gonna actually remove this.
So only when the component itself is re-rendered, or the reference to either the array or the object itself.
Okay, so here, which one do we remove?
Not only affecting this at all, and only when we update, but even if he'll know.
Okay, so I'm gonna delete this part.
It's increasing, but right now you can see that the zone is not affecting this at all. So only when the component itself is re-rendered, or the reference to either the array or the object itself changes, only then we re-render, which improves the performance.
Okay, so all of this, what I'm saying, actually, I can zoom in and just focus my face because I'm not showing anything or changing anything at all.
Then we re-render, which improves the performance so many times.
Okay, so till here, I can click this, I can click transform, I can zoom in, and just so we are sure, because here I saw that we also have, sorry, we moved so much further. So this one has animation for some reason, so we don't want that.
So only when the component itself is.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click here, and then, okay, so there's nothing right here, but if I start doing this, sorry, let's do it via this. So zoom in, X, or can bring it like here as well. Zoom out, move it right here, and then there we go.
Is not affecting this at all. So only when the component itself is re-rendered, or the reference to either the array or the object itself changes, only then we re-render, which improves the performance so many times. For example, if I start searching Irene, you can see that I found this person, now the count is 3. If I go back to the list now the count should be 4, and the rest of them have just rendered twice because I searched that person. So this makes much more sense. Finally, we're going to look into Looper. Finally, we're going to look into the app shell. So we're going to look into person. So this makes much more sense. That person.
I don't need to keep this makes much more sense. I think I can delete from here.
Looper. And this is something that really helps with the SEO, but then also for the initial user experience that the user gets.
Okay, let's see.
So finally, we're gonna look into.
So let's delete from here. And then here we can also add a marker that says, I think that was app shell. So Angular app shell. Angular PWA with app shell. And let's also try to copy these and then use them right here when we had the marker. Okay, so here, let's copy this guy. Let's change this as well.
Finally, we're going to look into the app shell. And this is something that really helps the SEO go nice. Looper. And this is something that really helps with the SEO, but then also for.
Okay, so let's log these.
Is some to the app shell, and this is.
So we also need to break here.
And this is something that really helps the SEO go nice. Looper. And this is something that.
Okay, so from here, let's delete.
I search that person. Finally, we're going to look into the app shell. And this is something that really helps with the SEO, but then also for the initial user experience that the user gets. For example, if I just load an app and there is a loader being shown for a while, it's not the best user experience. But if the user can see something, sort of the structure as well, which is used quite a lot of times in these days, for example, Facebook, Google apps as well, which is used quite I'm
going to remove this as well.
Sort of the structure as well, which is used quite a lot of time.
Okay, so the quiet is being repeated. You see this tiny little sound plays there. We're going to remove that. So this gets removed.
Which is used quite a lot of times in these days. For example, Facebook, Google, a lot of apps basically use that. So what am I talking about? If I refresh these, you'll see for a brief moment that you have those gray boxes, which are replicating the UI. And that not only is just a box, but a box with animation. So it shows something is being loaded with that structure. So if I refresh, you see that. If I make
Okay, then from the point where I want to disable JavaScript, I think that's where I got lost.
Structure. So if I refresh, you see that. If I make the network request a bit slow, let's say go with fast 3G, now you see that I got it for a while and then the UI was rendered, right? Just like this. And what's great is if I just disable it, because I have an app shell right there, it would still show me the whole UI without even having, for example, a JavaScript or even network. For example, if I refresh now, you see that I actually get everything back because of the service worker. But let's say I'm not really using throttling, but I will disable JavaScript. So if I go here, I say disable JavaScript.
Now this is one was not accurate because I was running a developer,
but the internet is still on. If I refresh now,
and this is what was not supposed to be shown, and I was like, oops, what's happening? And then I realized, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And then I realized I was not running the production version. So let's move forward. And then I think from the point where we actually start doing it was something around here.
And finally, we have a recipe in which you build an app shell for your progressive.
So here is where we want to go. So if I go all the way in this video, okay, we have the point till here, and then we also need to go and delete all of that as well because I redid the whole thingy. So this goes away.
Twice because I searched that person. And finally, we have a recipe in which you build an app shell for your progressive web application. What this basically means is that, for example, if I'm requesting the data the first time, you're going to find that, for example, if I do a hard reload, you will see that all of this data basically came from the server. But as soon as I refresh it, you're going to see that now it's coming from the server. But as soon as I refresh the page, you're going to see that hard reload, you will see that all of this data basically came from the server. But as soon as I refresh it, all of this data basically came from the server. But the server.
So here I'm going to stop and go here after the blooper and delete it. Okay, let's hear.
Everything, for example, if I do a hard reload, you will see that all of this data basically came from the server. But as soon as I refresh the page,
and I'm gonna also bring in the bottom banner and also the chat, and then we'll see about the webcam in just a bit. Let's see. Okay, so
next basically came from the server. But as soon as I refresh the page, you're going to see that the next time everything actually comes from the service worker, which means that if I go and turn this to offline, you will still see all the data and the app will be usable. For example, if I refresh now, you can see that I can actually see the whole app working. Now, anything that has not been fetched, of course, will not be able to be accessible. But apart from that, everything should be working. Now, that also means that if I enabled in Looper, now that also means that if I enable network, just like, but everything should be working. Now, that also enable everything should be working. Now, that also means.
So let's delete this guy. And also let's bring my webcam as well. So here, let's see.
It means that you're working. Now that also means that if I enable network just like normal, but if I disable JavaScript, which means that there's no Angular on the front end, you will still see the UI because of the app shell. That is where the app shell comes in. So if I say disable JavaScript and refresh, you can see that you still see the UI because of the app shell on the front end. You will still see the UI.
And let's delete this guy right here. Okay, let's see.
Shell, you will still see the UI. That is where the app shell comes in. So if I say disable JavaScript and refresh, you can see that the UI still is there. We have a header, we have the search bar there, right? We also have all these boxes which actually show the user that, okay, this is an app instead of a blank screen. But obviously, since there's no JavaScript, you cannot put any input in there. There's no request being made. There's no data coming back. But this is the minimal app shell that you get out of the box. And you learn in the recipe how to actually build that.
Okay, I think that's it. So then we just do this. We can also add a blur dissolve, and we can also add the sound of this whoosh right here. Let's zoom in the timeline a bit to make this a bit nicer at the center, and then decrease the volume a bit. Also make it like this.
How to actually build that. So I hope this video was useful for you to understand what is in the book, and this is just 10
So here,
to understand what is in the book, and this is just 10 of the recipes that I've showed you, and the book has about 80 recipes.
So I'm going to actually zoom this one with dynamic zoom. This is not something that I've shown so far in this whole stream. So what you do is in DaVinci, when you have selected a particular piece of video, then you can click here. So this is transform. But if you click this drop down, here is dynamic zoom. So this one is the one. The green is where it starts, the red is where it ends. So what I usually do is I click this green arrow and I move this outside, and then the red one I bring this inside. I move the green almost at the edges of the screen, and this red one is now where I want the video to end, or where I want this piece of video to end the zoom. So I'm going to move this a bit up because I want this to end on my face. So this looks something like this now.
In the book, and this is just 10 of the recipes that I've showed you, and the book has about 80 recipes. So grab your copy of the Angular Cookbook, the Angular Cookbook, second edition. People are already liking it.
I'm going to zoom this a bit, but not dynamic zoom. So I'm just going to use a normal zoom. So let's add the zooming in. Oops, I need to also click the video and then add it. Zooming a bit, bringing the Y a bit down, and this is how it looks.
Grab your copy of the Angular Cookbook, second edition. People are already liking it. The first edition has had more than 48 ratings on it.
So this is where I could also add some images, for example, here. So if I go to ngcookbook.com, I can go to the Amazon link, and I can also add a screenshot of this. So here, Command Shift S, and then I can take this screenshot, and I can bring that in the video, but I'll also see what else I say in the video.
Amazon having a 4.3 out of 5, and also the GitHub repo has reached 100 stars.
So the GitHub repo as well. So let's quickly go there. Let's go to ng cookbook, and then I think we had the code base, but not this one. We had, I think it's called just the Angular Cookbook. Yeah. So this one has more than 101 stars, which is amazing. So I will create a screenshot about that as well. And let's see, what else do I say in the video.
I'm really happy what people are doing with this, and help me share the word.
Thank you. So then I can just delete this guy. And when I say about the Amazon,
48 has had more than 48 ratings.
So here I can also add the image. So let's go to master, let's go to import media, and I think we have screenshots, and then I can add both of these, right? Wait, what happened? Both of these actually, and open. So this is the one with the rating. Oh, what happened? Let's click this guy, remove it. Oh, because those are locked. Unlock. Now I can move it right here. So
then 48 ratings on.
So 48 ratings. So this is where I want to actually zoom in a bit. So I'm going to start with the keyframe essentially, or actually I'm going to start with a default transform. So let's add the transform like this, because I want to show essentially this right here, but I also want to zoom in later on. So here,
then
So here I can add the keyframes, 1, 2, 3, and then this guy. And now I can zoom even further on the 48 rating. So here, let's, or actually, I'm going to also, uh, I'm now confused because it's not 0, 0, but we'll see. Okay, so in this case, then we have this right here. Then I click this one, this one. Let's even zoom in further. Let's add X a bit far. Let's add Y a bit down. So here we have like 48 rating zoom in. So it starts like this.
More than 48 ratings on Amazon, having a 4.3 out of 5, and also.
So here then I can just get rid of this. And like
having
this.
A 4.3 out of 5, and also the having a 4.3 out of 5, and also the GitHub repo has reached.
So in this one, we can also add the GitHub repo. Did like this, maybe like this, and then here we'll also zoom in.
Repo has reached.
So we start here, we move 2 frames forward, we do it like this, we zoom in a bit, and then we bring the stars right at the center top. So let's do this.
Repo has reached 100 stars. So,
oh, what happened to this one? I could see something down below. Okay, let's see.
GitHub repo has reached 100 stars. So I'm really happy.
Let's fade out.
So the GitHub repo has reached 100 stars. So I'm really happy what people are doing with this, and help me share the word.
So here I can also zoom in. Zoom in. We Y a bit down. And there we go.
And help me share the word. Thank you.
Okay. I think we're done with the whole video thingy. So let's quickly revisit it in a fast pace.
Hi there. I'm recording this video to show you what is the potential of the Angular Cookbook second edition and how people can actually get benefit.
I'm gonna
from
bring
it
some
and get into
water.
the word, covering a lot of cool topics that they need.
Have a good watch.
I'm gonna just go with the recipes which are finalized, and this is the final version when you have finished the recipe. So this one goes with Angular signals, and this.
Oh, wait a second.
People can actually get benefit from it and get into Angular world, covering a lot of cool topics that they need almost every day. Let's get started. I'm gonna just go with the recipes which are finalized, and this is the final version when you have finished the recipe. So this one goes with Angular signals, and this whole app is working with signals. For example, if you find a new item, you're adding that within the signal. Then you also have the computed property right here, which basically tracks of how many tasks have been finished versus not. You can also see this one where when you finish, you see a message, and that also runs with computed as well. Or sorry, for an effect instead of computed. Then you also have things like route animations. For example, here, if you go from one page to another, how do you really implement those animations? So the recipe goes in depth on how to do that and then how it actually works. So it's really, really cool. Then you also have this right here, which is using the HTTP exponential backoff strategy. So when, for example, you're trying to request some data, it doesn't work, then it tries again a few times, to the point where it just stops after a maximum time. So this one basically retries 3 times, and every next iteration or request basically takes more time before retrying. So this is called the exponential backoff strategy. And you'll see that now it takes a few seconds for the last one to basically do that. And then finally we have a message that's shown here as well. Then we also have this route preloading strategy recipe, in which you basically learn how to implement preloading strategies based on certain conditions. For example, right now, if I log in as an admin, not only I will load the admin bundle, but also the admin campaign bundle. So if I click it, you can see that I loaded the admin component right here, and then also the admin campaign component. Same goes with employee. If I go to the employee now, you're gonna see that we do have the bucket already loaded, but actually can't go to the employee unless you actually log out and log in. So if I log out and then log in as employee, now you can see that both the employee component and employee campaign component both are loaded. And if you just refresh directly on the campaign, then you'll see that we load both the employee campaign, which is right now the route, and you can also see the employee component and then the bucket itself, which you render as well. So those can be handled based on the preloading strategy. Then you have the form arrays. So in this one, you can basically start creating projects and enter URL, and then you can just keep clicking this plus button to add more and more. And you can see that on the right side, we're essentially filling this whole form, the reactive form that we have, having a form array containing all the new things that you can see right here. And as soon as I add anything, it's immediately updating as well. So this is how you can work with form arrays. Then we also have our own custom form control, which we can use to submit with our own custom UI. For example, in this one, this works with both the ng model and also the form, the reactive form as well. So in this one, if I go and inspect, you will see that upon clicking, for example, 3 right now, you can also see that I can click 5, 2, but let's say if it's 2, and if I say test, on submitting, you can see that I get the form's value, and this is the actual Angular forms value. If I go to the Angular debug tools, you can see that this is a form, and I can actually find out the value of the form right here. So if I go to app home, I can actually see the review form, and in this one, you can see the value being the comment and test, as you can see. So this is directly bound to the Angular reactive forms, and if you wanted to use, you can use with ng model. Then we also have some things with the Angular CDK. So this one goes through the list box, which means that if I just press a bunch of times the tab, then you can see that I've now focused on that one, so I can actually use it with my keyboard instead of clicking the mouse. And this follows the standards of accessibility because it's implemented by the Angular CDK team. Of course, great job. So if I just move around, you can see that this is being highlighted, but if I press enter, then the value is selected. selected, and this is by design. I can also jump by just typing the value. For example, I know that this one is blue, so if I just start typing BLU, you can see automatically it jumped to that particular item. So this is really, really accessible, and you go through the recipe to learn how this works. Then we also implemented our own custom pointy little popovers, and that means that if I mouse over and click, you can see that there is this menu right here, but this pointy part is covered in the recipe, and you will not find it easy on the internet. This not only shows it in the right direction, but if there's no space, it also shows it in the other direction as well, as you can see, and the pointiness of the popover are directly reflected there as well. So this is super cool as well. Then we also talk about the performance optimization using deferred blocks. For example, right now I have a bunch of components on this view, but I don't want to load all of them in the beginning, which makes the performance really, really fast. So if I go to the inspector, and for example, if I go to network and refresh right now, you're going to see that we are trying to load the Star Wars component at the moment, Star Wars character component, but the page has much more components as well. So if I click here, if I start going down, you're going to see that now the drag and drop component has been loaded because of the deferred block that we are using. So we loaded the drag and drop components, which includes the folder list and file list component, which can be used. For example, if I go here, I'm going to basically zoom out of it, and here you can see that I can just drag and drop these things. By the way, the drag and drop recipe is a separate recipe in the Angular CDK as well that you can try out as well. But if I scroll further down, you'll see more components. So here, for example, user list just came into being, and this loaded this particular bundle, which contains everything related to this one. But not only on scroll, we can also load when we mouse over a component. For example, there is one component that we show when we mouse over a card. So for example, this one. And as soon as I did, you can see that I got this user card back component loaded. So this is being used with the deferred block. Now let's move to the web workers. This is super, super cool. I've optimized this whole UI based on web workers because there's a lot of performance that goes into this. I have added a heavy function that executes on each particular card. But if I refresh, you'll see that instantly everything is rendered. And we also have just one color generation count. When we start the recipe, we have this more than 7 times as soon as the app starts. And whenever you click somewhere, it basically keeps increasing. But right now you can see that the zone is not affecting this at all. So only when the component itself is re-rendered or the reference to either the array or the object itself changes, only then we re-render, which improves the performance so many times. For example, if I start searching Rin, you can see that I found this person, now the count is 3. If I go back to the list now the count should be 4, and the rest of them have just rendered twice because I searched that person. And finally, we have a recipe in which you build an app shell for your progressive web application. What this basically means is that, for example, if I'm requesting the data the first time, you're going to find that, for example, if I do a hard reload, you will see that all of this data basically came from the server. But as soon as I refresh the page, you're going to see that the next time everything actually comes from the service worker, which means that if I go and turn this to offline, you will still see all the data and the app will be usable. For example, if I refresh now, you can see that I can actually see the whole app working. Now, anything that has not been fetched, of course, will not be able to be accessible. But apart from that, everything should be working. Now, that also means that if I enable network just like normal, but if I disable JavaScript, which means that there's no Angular on the front end, you will still see the UI. That is where the app shell comes in. So if I say disable JavaScript and refresh, you can see that the UI still is there. We have a header, we have the search bar there, right? We also have all these boxes which actually show the user that, okay, this is an app instead of a blank screen. But obviously, since there's no JavaScript, you cannot put any input in there. There's no request being made. There's no data coming back. But this is the minimal app shell that you get out of the box, and you learn in the recipe how to actually build that. So I hope this video was useful for you to understand what is in the book. And this is just 10 of the recipes that I've showed you, and the book has about 80 recipes. So grab your copy of the Angular Cookbook, second edition. People are already liking it. The first edition has had more than 48 ratings on Amazon, having a 4.3 out of 5, and also the GitHub repo has reached 100 stars. So I'm really happy what people are doing with this, and help me share the word. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. So what I'm gonna do at the end actually is just add one more marker here which says outro. So this should be my outro, and then I also want to do one more thing, and that is just bringing the Angular Cookbook text at the end as well. So where is the text? This one. So I'm going to actually copy these two, and then I'll bring them to the ending of the video. So throughout the whole ending, I can actually show that thing right there. So let's see. And I'll probably zoom out a bit. And let's quickly do it this way. Because now there are 2 screenshots as well, I want to... Okay, let's do it this way, that we add both of them until this point. This goes a bit back and with a fade out animation as well. So let's have a look.
So I hope this video was useful for you to understand what is in the book, and this is just 10 of the recipes that I've showed you, and the book has about 80 recipes. So grab your copy of the Angular Cookbook, second edition. People are already liking it. The first edition has had more than...
I actually would like to shorten this a bit down, so when I'm showing the book, it's not there.
Of the Angular Cookbook, second edition. People are your copy of the Angular Cookbook, second edition,
a bit before as well,
recipes. So grab your copy of the Angular Cookbook, second edition. People are already liking it. The first edition has had...
Okay, and that's pretty much it. Once I've done my video, I'll just save this with the new name. So Angular Cookbook 10 recipes, show off, save that, quick export, and then you can select H.264 or YouTube or whatever. I think more or less they have the same video codec. So I'm going to use the H.264 master. You export this, you can name it whatever. So for example, Angular Cookbook recipes show off. And once you're done, it essentially would just export it. So I have, uh, if I look at the time that we have streamed, it's 1.5 hours for editing a 9-minute video, and that is how much time it takes to edit. It's just that. So it takes a lot of time to actually edit the videos compared to how much time it takes to just record those videos. So I will keep this stream at this point because I'll go now and I'll let this render for a while. But thank you so much who has joined today, and thank you so much for your comments and your questions as well. So I hope this video was useful for you. I'm going to keep these published so you can always refer to this and then learn the tricks that I mentioned. As I said, I'm not a professional video editor, so I don't earn money from editing videos. That's why I've never spent a lot of time to actually improve my skills into this, but I think I know just enough to get things done for myself. And I hope that you can also at least start looking into DaVinci Resolve with all these suggestions that I gave. With that said, thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you in the next stream. Thank you. Bye.